for the most in a single season in USC history. Cheryl had done that 39 years ago. And a 12-time Pac-12 Freshman of the Week. They should just rename the Freshman of the Week award the JuJu Watkins Award.
It's incredible. 12 times in 14 weeks she's been the Freshman of the Week, and she should have been the Player of the Week more often than she has, but I think it's by default she gets the Freshman of the Week. But she has had an incredible season as an 18-year-old true freshman. Already reads the game and understands the game at a high level. I will say today, though, in front of 8,200 plus here at Gill Coliseum and facing this really tough Oregon State defense, they have limited her. They've turned her into a jump shooter with a hand in her face.
Judea Skies Watkins, S-K-I-E-S. Sky is the limit for her. Porova, 18-footer, got it. 10-point game.
Walked into that one, clean look, knocked it down. It has been 18-12 in the third quarter. That's what SC was able to do.
Davis defended by Porova, and Gardner has it for Oregon State, trying to cut the deficit to single digits.
Now, USC started that third quarter, scored the first 6. Oregon State with the bucket, and now the stop. You need to turn that around to get back into this one.
Donovan Hunter, true freshman point guard from Medford, Oregon, down south of here. Gardner's three doesn't go. Davis comes down with a rebound. Porova fell to the floor. No foul was called, nor should have been. Watkins, stopped at the angle, gets it now to Marshall, floats it up, back iron. Tipped to control by von Oelhoffen. Von Oelhoffen clearing the corner, directing some traffic. Now to A.J. Moran. Tamia Gardner forcing that ball in and getting the bucket.
That's an aggressive take by Gardner, who's the 42% three-point shooter. That time just going right at the shot blocker Marshall and got in her body to score over the top.
13 points all in the second half for Tamia Gardner. There's 13 of their 16 here in the half. Marshall's shot doesn't go, tipped by Gardner and controlled by Hunter.
Gardner gets the bucket, and then the other end gets the stop against Marshall. So Gardner really coming alive here in the fourth.
Porova one-on-one against Davis. Nice little spin move, off the glass, doesn't go. I like Porova's game. In future years, she'll finish that. True freshman from the Czech Republic.
She shows no hesitation, though. She's got a scorer's mentality, that is for sure.
Von Oelhoffen slapping on the ball by Watkins, and we got an offensive foul called against JuJu.
And that's the third personal on JuJu. Talia von Oelhoffen getting in. Not a lot of shoulder contact there, but Talia von Oelhoffen, the veteran in her fourth year as the junior with the COVID year included, she knows how to draw a foul.
Gardner against Marshall, spin move, draws the foul, wouldn't fall. And Tamia go to the free throw line for a couple of shots. Marshall commits, let's see, her first foul of the game.
And a chance for Oregon State to crawl to within 8. Remember, on Friday, they were down by 7 points with about 2.5 minutes to go and got the win in regulation. And Tamia Gardner working on Marshall and going right at Marshall for the second possession in a row.
2 free throws coming up for Gardner. 90%er on the year. Hit 2 free throws with 15 seconds left on Friday to put Oregon State up by 2. Last year as a true freshman, missed the first 16 games with a medical issue. She handled the situation well. She got involved in everything they did. Was front and center in every huddle, even with the injury. All right, it's a 6-point game. USC's led by as many as 13. Watkins to work against von Oelhoffen. What a battle that is around the pick set by Davis. Double team. Forbes hits the mid-range shot.
Good ball movement, one side of the floor to the other, and that is where you can get a little bit of room against this Oregon State defense.
Porova drives it in, and she gets fouled by Davis, and for Kayla Davis, that's her 4th personal foul. Ball movement by USC, and a rare open look for the Trojans.
And Forbes stepping inside that three-point arc, hitting that jumper, increased the lead back to 8. She has yet to hit a 3 in this game. She's made a 3 in 20 games. 20 straight games that Forbes has hit a 3, but yet to connect.
She was scoreless at halftime. Reverse layup, and good for Porova, making it a 6-point game again.
That was a gorgeous move. The little English off the window on the reverse, getting inside that USC defense.
And this crowd now getting into it as much as they have all night long, with just over 6 minutes to go and a 6-point USC lead. Watkins splits the defense, floats it up, doesn't go. Tough shot with a hand in her face. Oregon State saying there was no touch.
Porova sizing up Padilla and just taking off baseline. No help coming. She goes all the way to the other side of the key to finish.
Three-pointer by Forbes, and she hits it. There it is. Mackenzie Forbes hits that three-pointer. Now 22 consecutive games with a 3 for her.
Now you knew it was coming, and that was clutch timing here in the 4th quarter. Oregon State with the momentum, the crowd on their feet, and pushes it back to 9.
Von Oelhoffen to answer. Doesn't go. Might have forced that a bit. Watkins comes down with it. JuJu's got 11 rebounds to go along with 16 points. Nice move, keeping both shoulders between her and the defender, and suddenly USC back up by 11.
And a rare transition bucket for JuJu, but you just saw her get going. Got the ball in the backcourt and was off to the races.
Gardner puts it up over Marshall to get a pair back and make it a 9-point deficit.
Well, Tamia Gardner looking like the McDonald's All-American that she was in high school here in the second half. The Ogden, Utah product, lighting it up. All points coming in the second half. And she's got 17 now.
Von Oelhoffen poking it away. Back to USC, 13 in the timer, 5:10 remaining in the game.
So Gardner just trying to will her team to a victory at the career-high 21 against UCLA Friday, now up to 17 here in the second half.
She was 0 for 3 from the field in the first half. Tamia Gardner. Padilla high off the glass, doesn't go. Tipped out of bounds by Marshall. It'll go to Oregon State. 4:58 remaining in the game. It's a 9-point USC lead. Don't go away. This is our clean, simple eats, eat clean, get results moment. Mackenzie Forbes finally hitting a 3, 22 straight games with 1.
Yeah, what a streak for Mackenzie Forbes. The transfer out of Harvard actually started her career at Cal with Lindsey Gottlieb. And then when Lindsey Gottlieb moved on to the NBA with the Cleveland Cavaliers as an assistant, Mackenzie Forbes went from Cal to Harvard, got her degree from Harvard, the Ivy League, and then as a grad student transfers back to California now to play her final season at USC. What a pickup for Lindsey Gottlieb. And
she comes from a basketball family. Brother Mason, basketball at Harvard, 2019 to 22. Her father, Sterling Jr., basketball at Texas State University, professionally in Argentina, and then with the Harlem Globetrotters. Grandfather Sterling Sr., All-American at Pepperdine, 3 years with the Globetrotters. And the family has run basketball camps, including in Avalon on Catalina Island in Southern California.
That's not a bad place to do a basketball camp.
Not a bad place at all.
I'd take that duty.
9-point lead for USC. Donovan Hunter, the true freshman. Tamia Gardner, quick trigger 3. Didn't go. Back tip by Porova, but controlled by Bigby for USC.
Oregon State had the look they wanted. Gardner was left open on good execution, just wouldn't fall.
Forbes dribble behind her back, floats it up, doesn't go, gets her own rebound, gets stripped, and Oregon State has it. By the way, JuJu Watkins, lowest field goal percentage of the season is 29%. Today, 21%, 6 of 28. Beavers have done a good job on her.
Kayla Davis with those 4 fouls, not playing here down the stretch.
Last touch by Bigby, back to Oregon State with 14 in the timer, 4:11 remaining in the game. Oregon State has yet to commit a foul here in the quarter. USC's committed 3. Possession arrow the way of USC, each team with 3 timeouts. Gardner with 7 on the timer, puts it up from 15. Rebound Rhea Marshall. Marshall 9 points, 14 rebounds.
The 3-point shots for either team, they just have not been falling in this game. Oregon State just 3 made threes on 17 attempts. To get back in this game, they're going to have to go deep at some point, you would imagine. And
Big possession here.
Yeah, trying to work some clock here with this 9-point lead.
If they lead double figures with under 4 to go, that'd be tough. Watkins. Rhea Marshall offensive rebound. Tipped by Murat. And out of bounds, back to USC.
That defense from Talia von Oelhoffen on JuJu Watkins. Shouted over her right hand, made her go left, stayed in her space, and forced another tough jumper.
Beavers have now given up 16 offensive rebounds after giving up 15 to UCLA on Friday, and that's in part because of the lack of Reagan Beers' presence.
You just cannot replace a double-double factory like Reagan Beers and her size.
She had 20 points, 20 rebounds against Arizona earlier this season. Spin by JuJu off the glass, no good. Gardner has it.
Talia von Oelhoffen went flying, but did her job, forced another miss.
Watkins 6 of 30 from the floor. Gardner puts it up. Good straight-up defense by USC.
Yeah, Rhea Marshall is a menace down on the block. When you're trying to score one-on-one against her, she's one of the few posts that can just stand her ground. Doesn't need help on most possessions. Impressive.
By the way, USC 4 of 15 on threes. The Beavers 3 of 17. JuJu's missed her last 3 shots. She's now under 20% field goal percentage in the game, 6 of 31.
Oregon State has forced her into a lot of contested jumpers. She has not gotten into the paint very often in this game, and that's really when you start seeing JuJu get cooking, is when she gets a couple of buckets in the lane off transition or a 3 in transition. And Oregon State's defense has limited the women of Troy to just 51 points here with 2.5 minutes to go. It's just their offense has not been able to connect from the 3-point line.
Reese in, Porova out for Oregon State. Watkins backs it up. Defended by von Oelhoffen, who pokes it away. Talia absolutely picked her pocket, trying to get rid of it. And timeout called by Scott Ruick. Heady timeout by the Beavers coach.
Talia von Oelhoffen is working her tail off. I mean, she has been on the ground 3 different times diving. That was a brilliant defensive play, getting into the space of JuJu Watkins and then tipping it away and then going to recover. Right here, look at her. Shadow her right hand, tip it in with the right without fouling, and then diving on the ground and keeping it away from 2 different USC players. Scott Ruick calling the timeout from the sideline. It's a play they had to have, down by 9 and just over 2 minutes to go. And getting the possession arrow favoring USC. A tie-up would have given it, kept it with SC. But when you're trying to get back in a game at this late juncture with 2:20, a huge defensive play by von Oelhoffen.
And at least neither team shooting it well, but credit the defense in this game. It's been a defensive battle, a high-level defensive battle in an electric atmosphere.
Yeah, it's been an identical type of matchup as we saw down at the Galen Center earlier this season. And that was USC winning by 2, 56-54. And JuJu was able to go for 28 points, but on 33 shots in that one. So here inside of Gill, Oregon State's defense has been more staunch against JuJu, but their offense just has not been able to make enough shots so far.
Marshall coming out to hedge that screen. Gardner's 3-pointer is good. That makes it a 6-point game. Here come the Beavers again.
Desperately needed and clutch for Gardner. She's up to 20 points, back-to-back 20-point games for Gardner. Just the 4th 3-point make of the game for Oregon State.
8,500 were here Friday. It's a similar crowd here today. Floater put up by Forbes, doesn't go, gets her own rebound, puts it up and in. Mackenzie Forbes.
Huge. huge job of crashing the glass for Forbes.
11 points for Mackenzie Forbes, all in the second half. 20 for Tamia Gardner of Oregon State, all in the second half. Back to an 8-point game. Gardner, quick trigger three. We got a foul called against Watkins, and Gardner going to be going to the free throw line for 3 shots. In fact, it's on Rhea Marshall, her second.
Gardner getting this screen, sticking behind it for the 3-point make. Impressive. Had to have it, and the 42% 3-point shooter gets it, and then Forbes just working the glass, getting inside position, and able to get the bucket.
Last year, Oregon State wasn't winning the close games. This year, they are. Last year, just 4 Pac-12 wins. Yeah, look what they did last year. All those close games, 6 points or fewer. 4 and 14 in conference.
The turnaround, Rich, is just unbelievable. Last year, this team won 4 games. They were picked to finish 10th to start the Pac-12 season, and they just lost all of the close games last year. Look at this, 2 and 7 last year, 5 and 1 in those close games this year. And they've had already in this streak, this 6-game win streak, 3 wins against top 10 opponents. It has been a phenomenal stretch for the Oregon State Beavers.
They're down by 6. Gardner missed the third, a rare miss for her. Doesn't go for JuJu. Marshall puts it up and in. Big offensive rebounded bucket for Rhea Marshall.
Now, Rhea Marshall, she's not a player they feature on the low block a lot, of get her the ball and let her go to the work. She averages 10 points per game, but she's so good in these kind of circumstances. Look at her go in there, track the ball off of the rim, and then score over the top of Reese. Hustle play for Marshall.
Lily Hansford goes up for 3 and trying to draw the foul as much as anything else. And it's out of bounds back to the Beavers. By the way, Tamia Gardner, 22 points in the second half. The 22 points in this game are a career high for her after the 21 on Friday.
Think about the kind of potential that Gardner has, that 5-star recruit. 22 points and a half.
Hansford's 3, they need it. It ain't happening. Lily 0 for 4 from 3-point range, out of bounds to USC. Kelsey Reese thought it was last touched by Mackenzie Forbes.
And they will go and take a look at the monitor.
Whole Foods Market official review.
Kelsey Reese was adamant.
So 8-point game with 45 seconds remaining.
I haven't seen the replay yet here on the monitor, but the big screen went up on the TV, and the crowd here in Gill is quiet. So to me, that means that this call will stay with USC. If you're reading the reaction from the Oregon State faithful, they would have cheered wildly if it...
It was poked away by Reese. Then the question is, did it roll off Forbes' hand after Reese touched it? It may have.
Well, and to overturn has to be clear and conclusive evidence. With the call going the way of USC, you have to be able to have the clear and conclusive evidence to overturn.
Lily Hansford, by the way, tops of the Pac-12, 51% 3-point shooting, averaging 1.3 makes a game. Hansford 0 for 4 in this one.
So this is a big call here with just 45 seconds to go in an 8-point game. Oregon State really needs to have this to get that extra possession. If not, they're going to probably have to start fouling. Only 1 team foul against Oregon State. They're going to have to foul 4 times before heading to the line. This has to show clearly and conclusively that the ruling on the floor was incorrect, and I don't know if I see it as clearly and conclusively.
If it does go Oregon State's way, they were able to hit a quick 3, then it would be down to a 5-point game. Reese pokes it, but does Forbes touch it last?
I just don't think clearly and conclusively you can tell on that.
I don't know if it's absolutely clear and conclusive, but there is some evidence there that it did kind of roll off Forbes' arm. We just don't know if Reese was still touching the ball at that time.
What this does do is give an extra timeout situation for both coaches. 3 timeouts left for USC, 2 for Oregon State. And so this is a free chance for the coaches to huddle up and give instructions for how to attack this final 45 seconds. But these two teams, I tell you, just it gets you thinking about what is going to happen at the Pac-12 tournament in Las Vegas coming up March 6th through 10th. These teams, there's going to be a team that was in the top 10 of the rankings this year that will be playing on day one.
That's incredible.
It is absolutely crazy.
That'll be at the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas. Tickets at pac-12.com/tickets. And indeed, they overturned the call, and the ball goes to Oregon State. So Kelsey Reese was adamant, and the call goes her and her team's way. Now, can the Beavers get a bucket and stay in this game with 45 seconds remaining?
Look for Gardner.
Hansford, three-pointer. Got it. Lily Hansford hits her first. Indeed, it's a 5-point game. And Brenda Pantoja calling time. Is there an issue with the clock? Finally, Hansford hits a 3. The #1 shooter in the Pac-12, 51%. Hits her first in 6 tries.
They get it to Gardner, and she sees that her teammate, and she was open, and we're checking out the clock. Brenda Pantoja looking up and seeing that the clock had frozen, which that's a good way to help a team. I mean, that you freeze the clock in a 5-point game. That's but of course, our officials all over that when you have the clock that malfunctions like that. So 39 seconds to go. And what this does do is it gives Oregon State time to set up a press and set up that defense. Only 1 team foul against Oregon State. So they've got to work quickly. They have to go for steals. They have to go for denials. They want to go for a trap, and they can be really aggressive. They're trying to foul, but also at the same time, before just reaching out, they're trying to deny and trying to get their hands on something to get a clean steal.
And by the way, for Lily Hansford, 1 for 5 on 3-pointers in this game. The defense you're just describing for Oregon State isn't the way they typically play. So we'll find out just how good they are at that type of defense. They usually don't go for steals, don't press, don't trap. They simply stay between their defender and the basket. But now they're in a position where they're forced to do that.
Well, how about this 4th quarter for Oregon State? 18-11 to crawl back in this game. It had been SC, their largest lead of 13 has been whittled down to just 5. A 2-possession game for Oregon State. They've been able to get hot in the last 2 possessions from deep. First it was Gardner hitting a 3, then it was Lily. And they needed both of those. Lily Hansford, the 6'2 sophomore from Wisconsin, always a threat from deep.
Beavers on a 19-11 run. They trail by as many as 13, within 5. For the first time since it was 23-18 late in the first half. They've put another couple of seconds back on the board, and USC will inbound it.
I tell you, Talia von Oelhoffen, 31 minutes. She's just 1 of 10 from the floor, but how about 10 assists, 7 rebounds for Talia, and some outstanding defense on JuJu.
Watkins still in the backcourt, gets it in the front court to Marshall, underneath to Davis, and we got a whistle before the shot.
And this is one where the foul benefiting the team that it was called against, as that was a wide open bucket taken off the board, and it's going to be a baseline out of bounds play, just the 2nd team foul. And immediately Reese reaches out, no time off the clock.
Fouls on von Oelhoffen. This one on Kelsey Reese. Previous one on von Oelhoffen, her 3rd. Reese her 2nd.
So still 2 team fouls for Oregon State to work with. They want to deny.
Domparova checks back in, and von Oelhoffen comes out. Wanted to get Von Oelhoffen out of the game because with the fouls to commit, they didn't want her to commit one. She's got 3. And so Forbes unable to get it in and has to call the timeout for USC.
And Tamia Gardner heading over is, I think, Winston in a little bit of pain. She kind of had to catch her breath to head over to the huddle. Hope she's all right.
Oregon State next week will be in the Bay Area. Friday at 7 o'clock, they'll take on Cal. That'll be on Pac-12 Bay Area. Like me, it's at Washington State, and then at Washington next week, and then home against Stanford and Cal. And all those games will be on Pac-12 Network.
Down to the nitty-gritty time of the final season of Pac-12 play.
Washington State knocked off ASU in Tempe today, 73-46. Arizona won at home over Washington, 90-82 in Tucson. USC looking for the bucket to seal it. And quick foul.
So still not in the bonus. Next foul, USC will head to the free throw line.
That was on Gardner. Now, Von Oelhoffen checks back in, and Porova out. Again, Talia has 3 fouls. They didn't want her to get a 4th.
And they have her guarding the inbounder.
Outside to Padilla. Davis, fouled by Von Oelhoffen, who does pick up her 4th foul. She holds her hands out, palms upward, as if to say, what was I supposed to do?
Well, and Davis needed to get rid of that ball. Davis is the worst player on the floor in terms of shooting foul shots. She's just 57%. So Padilla probably should have just held on to that basketball and taken the foul, because Padilla is a good free throw shooter at 70%.
57%er swishes the first. Makes it a 6-point game, 26.2 seconds remaining.
Oh, clutch hit by Davis.
Each team 2 timeouts remaining. Both teams now in the bonus.
It's still a 2-possession game.
Timeout taken by Oregon State with 16.5 seconds remaining. Remember, on Friday there were 15 seconds remaining, and the game was tied at 72. And it ended up being 79-77 Oregon State without the game going to overtime. An incredible finish. And that one, with 15 seconds remaining, it was tied before Tamia Gardner made a couple of free throws to put Oregon State up. In this one, the Beavers are down by 6.
And what is so crazy about that game on Friday, talking to Beaver head coach Scott Ruick, is that the play that they used for Dalia Von Oelhoffen to get open was a play that they had drawn up a month ago before the Stanford game. And
Aaliyah Goodman had drawn it up.
Aaliyah Goodman, the first-year assistant coach, former point guard for Scott Ruick, coming back after a few seasons at Duke on the coaching staff, but drew it up. They didn't use it at Stanford, so they had it in their back pocket, and they nailed it.
During the timeout, Scott said, Aaliyah, what was that play that we had against Stanford? There's Aaliyah. They talked about it right there, and then drew it up until Talia hit the game winner. And Ruick said that those in-game conversations late in close games are his favorite part of coaching. He loves it when the student becomes the teacher, because it's a give and take with him and the players. Von Oelhoffen got to get it in. Able to lob it into Reese. Beavers got to go quickly. They're down by 6. 3 with a hand in her face. Doesn't go for Von Oelhoffen. Out of bounds to USC. By the way, Rhea Marshall, 11 points and 17 rebounds, equaling a season high. Her career high is 21.
Yeah, another double-double for Rhea Marshall. Her defense today, I thought, was really at a high level on Gardner. Gardner started to get cooking, but she had a lot of good possessions.
Mackenzie Forbes, 72%er, gets fouled. 6 seconds left. It's a 6-point game. And Oregon State playing without Reagan Beers, their leading scorer, 17.5 points per game. Coming off the win over 8th-ranked UCLA on Friday, when they played most of the game without Reagan Beers, 9th-ranked UCLA, and now facing 10th-ranked USC. Taking them down to the final minute here, but it looked like the Trojans are going to escape.
Well, I'll tell you, one of these teams was going to have to lose. Oregon State on a 6-game winning streak, 5 of those against top 25 foes. SC came in on a 5-game winning streak.
2 free throws from Mackenzie Forbes, and then she puts her finger to her mouth, looking up toward the Oregon State band as if to say, be quiet, and then she smiled at them before the timeout was called by Oregon State.
Now, you knew this was probably going to be a game that was in the 50s, maybe the 60s if somebody got cooking, but it has been USC's defense that has been the difference. That is why they have this 8-point lead and just 6 seconds remaining. Their defense has come out and limited Oregon State to just 34% field goal shooting.
And the USC Trojans on Friday at 7 will be home against Colorado, 8th-ranked Buffaloes. Then Sunday, home against number 22 Utah. That'll be at noon on Pac-12 Network. Then in 2 weeks, they finish the regular season at the Arizona schools.
It just does not get any easier.
No, it doesn't. So defense by USC and also offensive rebounding. Without Reagan Beers in there for Oregon State, USC has 20 offensive rebounds and second chance points. They're leading the Beavers 20-8.
Yeah, it's been a nice job just crashing the glass by USC. They have not shot the ball well. JuJu 6 of 32 in this game, 2 of 7 from deep, but she does have 11 rebounds. The 17 rebounds from Rhea Marshall. So even though the shot for any of the Trojans really has not been falling, just 58 points on the board, but they have given themselves an 8-point cushion in large part because of those rebounds.
18 points for Watkins, her 3rd lowest total of the season. Blacklock puts it up for 3, and it's blocked by Watkins. Adley reloads front of the rim, and 1.1 seconds remaining.
Inadvertent horn.
And Brenda Pantoja going over to the scorer's table with just over a second remaining in this game.
Well, that was the big stop. JuJu Watkins timing this to perfection. Look how she gets off of the ground and gets that paw up there against Blacklock to deny
and
any last chance.
Along with everything else, she's 7th in the Pac-12 in block shots. And I got to think if she doesn't lead the Pac-12 in blocked 3-pointers, she would be close.
Well, and she's also number 2 in the league in steals. She averages over 2.5 steals per game. So, I mean, that athleticism on the defensive end. She may not right now as a true freshman be in the right spot schematically all the time or know where the weak side defense is coming from. She is learning that part of the game, as every true freshman does, because you only learn that through experience. But the tools to play defense at a high level are all there for JuJu.
And that is that, a 58-50 win for USC. Again, the Trojans held under 60 by the Beavers, but they come out on top and they knock out the Beavers for the 2nd time this season. It was a great defensive game and a great atmosphere here.
Well, I'll tell you, the Trojans came out and quieted this crowd right from the start. They outscored Oregon State 14-8 in the first period. They did the same thing Friday night in Eugene. They got the crowd out of it and cruised.
Game of our doubleheader. And shots, and Mary Murphy will have the call. UCLA and Oregon.